Hey guys, I think I'm a minute late. And that happens sometimes. It does. It's a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. It's about 15:31 and I'm over here trying to suss this thing out is what I'm trying to do. Go ahead guys and see if you can jump on here real quick and see if we can get the show on the proverbial road. If you could tune in and just sort of tell me in the comments if you're watching. I'm over here at Simoson Building in my office with my headphones on, praying, hoping against hope that you guys are on here and that you can hear me loud and clear. It's a bit of hard work centering myself, but we'll get there. It's fine. It's nobody here but home folk is what it is. The consoling thing is that when I can hear my voice in my headphones and it's not as muffled as it was when we first started doing this. The sound is good, I think. And it would put me at ease if you could just tell me in the comments, just break that down for me. Somebody please tell me that I'm loud and clear. Also, tell me if I'm clear, because I've just realized that one of the things that I need to do in order to bring you a clear picture is to come on at about this time. If I try to do this live broadcast early in the morning, I don't know, Zamtel doesn't give me the love I need. It just gives me a blurry screen. But from what I can see so far, of course I could be wrong, I think it's clear. But it'll only be clear if you tell me it's clear, loud and clear. If you say that to me, I tell you, we're going to be on the straight and narrow. That's what we're going to do. Straight and narrow, boy, on the straight and narrow. Jim Rentz, one of my mentors, used to say that. We're on the straight and narrow. You know how them Southern preachers are. They don't say narrow, they say narrow. All right. Somebody says, good afternoon. You are so kind. That is such a wonderful thing to say. Thank you for that confidence. Thank you for that. Loud and clear. Thank you so much. Who's that? Shazia. Thank you, Shazia. Guys, do me a favor. If you could just sling this broadcast to people that you think would be interested in this conversation. I love to say that because I think, we have to sort of widen the net and sort of let down your net. Down into the water, there's a blessing waiting you cannot contain. If you just let down your net, way down in the water, he's pouring out that latter rain. There are some of you diseased and afflicted, and sickness reigns in your life. You've let the prophets of doubt and unbelief convince you that Jesus, he don't heal the sick and blind. Why don't you let down? See, now I've just gone that way. You guys, you're just going to have to get used to me, okay? There are many of you that are regulars. You know my modus operandi. You know how crazy I get sometimes. Sometimes I just start to sing out of nowhere, and that's fine. You know why? Because there's nobody here but home folk, is what it is. All righty, let's get into it real quick. Bo Allen is on Hill. There's my dear friend Bo Allen. She says loud and clear. And whenever Bo Allen and people like her and Tracy B and Stacy B, and the rest of them say that, you're in good company. You do. Guys, can we talk about some stuff today? Just a few minutes. Please indulge me. Okay. I hate saying That is such a horrible filler. Honestly, they teach you this when you study speaking and public speaking. Never say Those are annoying fillers. It's better to pause, or as we say in Zambia, to pose. He posed. Pose and pause are two different words, but let's not get into that. Okay. Watching upcoming mayor, you guys are so kind. I love it. Thank you so much. You're kind to say that. You're very kind to say that. Thank you. Loud and clear. That's what we want to hear. Perry is watching us. Thank you, Perry. Okay, let's get into it now. I wanted to bring something to you that, oh, by the way, before I get into that, I posted a few minutes ago that at the Lusaka Center Market, and this is a property, my understanding is that it belongs to the council. And everything that's going on in Lusaka Center Market literally is replicated all over government markets in and around this country. I tell you, the people that we entrust to run these markets, my goodness, they don't care about the functionality of the markets. They don't care about anything. All they care about is lining their pockets. Right now, as of a half an hour ago, there were council police going around the market there at Town Center, collecting 100 kwacha per shop. Now, at first glance, you would think, well, there's nothing wrong with that. And typically, there wouldn't be anything wrong with that. The questions begin to arise when the people collecting the money begin to insist, no, we don't have to give you a receipt. We'll just record the names in the book. And that is very indicative. Anytime someone says to you, I will not give you a receipt. Listen, receipts are not foolproof anyway. Receipts don't even mean anything. It's possible to issue a fake forged receipt. But in this particular case, these chaps that are running around asking each shop to pay 100 kwacha each, and these are council police going around asking for 100 kwacha from each shop and saying that this money has to go to settle a ZESCO bill. And when the shop owners ask, well, can we get a receipt for this $100? And those chaps collecting that money insist on not giving a receipt. Buana, any problem. That is a problem. And it is systemic. You will find it in almost every major government market in the city. Because markets, the people that run these markets, they have this idea, kuti, even if a Boma, it belongs to Boma. Therefore, Boma means the government. It belongs to the government. Therefore, we who work in these edifices, we have access to this money. And we can do with it whatever we please. That is the attitude. And your attitude, that is what is eroding functionality within the market. It is a cancer. It is a vice that literally spreads like malignant cancer throughout all the markets in this country. And to uproot that, it's going to take a surgeon with a dexterity beyond description. I will tell you now. If for us to exorcise that demon, for us to cast the demon of corruption out of these markets, oh boy, I tell you, you're going to need somebody. You're going to need somebody in your corner, boy, bigger than you. And I hate the fact, honestly, really, I hate that we have accepted this as a way of life. But government markets, as long as that exists, this is the reason, I keep telling you, this is the reason why many council police, they are toothless in combating street vendors, because they want vendors to continue so that they have access to that money. In the city of Lusaka, almost 4 million people, do you know how many council police we have in this country? 105. Here recently, there were some council police that were being trained in Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu. What the hell is a council worker doing learning kung fu? For what? I mean, for who? For what for? In a city of 4 million people, all you have is 105 council workers? Honey, you're in bad shape. You just scratch. I mean, you're not doing anything. You're literally rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. You're barely scratching the surface. It's a mess, I tell you. It is an absolute mess. You know, when you begin to look at these issues in the manner that they are supposed to be looked at, it is extremely frustrating. Because then you put yourself in a position where you think, manje, tizambira party. Where are we going to start? Tizasidiza party. Where are we going to end? Because the corruption is so systemic in these markets that to pull it out means literally pulling out a vital organ from your body. And then you become the corpse. I mean, it's that bad, mate. It's an absolute mess. Ngatwalanda kotwalufianya. Ngatwalanda kotwabembuka. Twachtabembuks. Twabembuka. Alawafia. It's WAF. Okay? Somebody says for the garbage collection. Well, then, if it's for the garbage collection, issue a receipt. An official receipt. Notwithstanding, there are receipts out there that are fake. I've seen them. There are many. It's possible to issue fake receipts. But if it's for garbage collection, then issue a receipt for the sake of transparency. What is difficult there? Oh, dear. Somebody says, just like with traffic, look at how they fisama, how they hide apa offense instead of telling people what right and wrong. Okay, that's a different topic. I don't want to get into that. You know. All right, let's get into this for a moment. Here's my question. Should poor people run for president? Tell me in the comments. Now, when we say poor, we don't mean street vending poor. We don't mean not street vending, because street vendors are not poor, I will tell you. They are some of the most liquid people you'll ever meet in your life. A street vendor will remove 10,000 kwacha cash right here, right now. You and I have to go to the bank to get that type of money, not street vendors. So I didn't mean street vendors. I meant bums. In America, they call them bums. Of course, a bum here is different from a bum in America. A bum is like a homeless person, okay? Should poor people run for president? Now, before I get into this, let me give you some backstory. Some of you may know, I'm 56 years old. I've lived a long time, okay? This is not my first rodeo. I've been around longer than you could think. I've seen a few things. I have lived through every single president that this country has ever had. Hello? Somebody's at the door. Hello? Yeah. I'm live. No, I'm live. No, I'm from. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm live. Just tell her to come back. Get the number. Yeah, because I'm live. Oh, then she can wait. So ask her to wait. No, to wait. Yes. Guys, what was I saying? Sorry, this is what happens when you are at Simoson. Everything and anything happens. All righty. Should poor people that have no means, should they run for president? Now, in order for me to give you my opinion, I have to take you all the way back. And I was telling you that I've had the privilege of living 56 years. And in those 56 years, I have seen and fortunately, I have met every single president since Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, every single one. And of course, I'm not chummy with them. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've had the phone number of presidents and I call at any time. I'm not saying that, and I don't do that, and I don't have that ability. But what I am saying is that I've had the privilege of rubbing shoulders, of having a minor sort of relationship with all the presidents since Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. I knew Dr. Kaunda on a personal level. I loved him. You know, he used to come here, incidentally. He used to come here at Simosol. And I remember one particular time I was running up the steps. I must have been about, 16 years old, 15 years old. I was running up the steps and he was running down the steps with my dad. And my dad said to me, this is my son. And I said to him, I said, you know, I remember you when I was about 9 or 10. You waved at me on Addis Ababa Drive. And he thought that was so funny. And many years later, on his, I think it was his 95th birthday or 94th, I went to his house and I told him that same story. So my point in saying all is that I have had the privilege of meeting all the presidents, all 7 of them. So I've lived through since UNIP to today. And in UNIP, during the days of the party and its government, that's what we used to say in those days, the party and its government, there was something called, it was referred to as, here, I'll throw it up here for you. I'll throw it up here. The leadership code. Tell me if you remember this. Tell me in the comments if you remember this. Tell me. This thing, when we were young, this was in full effect. This was the be-all and end-all. Tell me if you remember the leadership code. This was during Bakaunda, during the presidency of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda in UNIP, the United Independence Party, UNIP. Yeah, it was not Bulaba. Is it the United Independence? The United Independence. Yes, UNIP, United Independence Party. To Alaba. Tell me if you remember this. She says, I'm not familiar. Oh, I'll explain it to you. The leadership code dictated that in those days, in the days of UNIP, if you worked for government, if you worked in the government, you could not run or own a private business. If you are a government civil servant, if you worked in the Kaunda's government, you could not run a private business. Entrepreneurship, in Zambia we say intrapreneur. It's not intrapreneur, it's entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship within the civil service was frowned upon. Are you getting that? Tell me if that one is resonating with you. Tell us in the comments. The United National, that's right. Sorry, the United National Independence Party. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. The United National Independence, yes, UNIP. Yeah, to Asevana. Here it is. Guy, we are UNIP babies. And for me to forget the name, I mean, that's embarrassing. I've just revealed an inadequacy. My apologies. It was the United National Independence Party, UNIP. In UNIP, during UNIP, we had what was known as the leadership code. If you worked in government, you could not be an entrepreneur. I remember my father served under Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. My father was the mayor of the city. He was the governor of the city. He was a member of the central committee in UNIP. In those days, we used to say, The member of the he was a member of the central. He was an MCC. And in those days, being a member of the Central Committee, of course, it's different now. In those days, for some reason, that seemed to be a big deal. I mean, if you heard someone say, no, he's a member of the Central Committee, people, hey, MCC, he's a member of. I don't think MCC is a big deal now, but it was during the days of Kaunda. And I remember we lived in a government house in Kabulonga. There was a house along, what is the name of that road where Central Mall is located in Kabulonga? What's the name of that road? Tell me the name of that road. You know the new Central Mall? That road, if you're coming from town going into the Kabulonga area, you've got two gas stations on your left and right, but right before the gas station on your left, there's a shopping center there. It's called Central Mall. That road, what do you call that road? What's the name of that road? Tell me. That can't be Lake Road. Are you sure it's Lake Road? I don't think so. I don't think that's Lake Road, you know. I don't think it is. Tell me in the comments. Is this correct? Is that Bishop's Road? I don't think so, you know. Anyway, whatever road it is, we used to live in a government house along that road. And I'll never forget my father and I having a conversation about entrepreneurship. And I've never forgotten this example. And I don't know why. As a kid, I remember him sharing this with me, but I also remember thinking, well, why are you telling me this? Because at the time, it didn't make any sense to me. Of course, in retrospect, in hindsight, I now see exactly what he meant. But him and I were sitting and we were talking, and I was a little boy then. I was just a young boy, but he decided to talk to me about entrepreneurship. And there were 7 of us in our family. Of course, 2 have gone, and there are 5 of us left. And at the time, it was only 3 of us. It was just me and my 2 brothers. I'm the oldest, and we were talking. And my dad said something to me very interesting. He said, do you know that this house belongs to the government? And that was news to me at the time when he told me this. That was because I always assumed that was our house. So when he said that to me, I was a little nonplussed. I was a little surprised. I thought, what, this isn't our house? And he said, no, this isn't our home. He said, do you see that spoon on the table there? And I picked up the spoon. He said, do you know that spoon belongs to the government? He said that if anything were to happen to me, do you know that you and your mother would not be able to live in this house? Not only that spoon in your hand, you would not be able to take it with you. Everything here belongs to the government. So I have to make sure that I take care of you and your mother. When my father started branching out into entrepreneurship, that was a big problem in those days. That was a really big problem. Later on, he became MD of Zambia National Building Society. And of course, in those days, there was a lot of politics. People would say to Dr. Kaunda, why is Mwewa, he's governor, but he's also MD of Zambia National Building Society? Why? There's a problem there. So my father was relieved of his duties because he was a businessman. I remember we had 3 little, in Garden Compound, he had 3 little houses there. We used to call those the Green Diamond Flats. We called them that, those days. And a few years later, he decided that he wanted to build this building, this Simoson. Now, in those days, in the 80s, there was nothing here. There was nothing. It was just all rocks, nothing here. So when he was driving around looking for a place to buy so that he can build a building, he first went to the industrial area. He didn't like it there. So as he was driving down Lumumba Road, he saw Mr. Isa. He's an Indian man. We still know the Isas today. Anyone who lives in Lusaka knows the Isas. Mr. Isa was the one that owned this land. But in those days, there was nothing here. It was just rocks. So my dad pulls over on Lumumba Road, and Lumumba Road in those days only had 2 lanes. And in those days, there were hardly any vehicles, And so he pulls over, my dad pulls over and walks up to Mr. Isa and says, I'm looking for land to buy. Mr. Isa looks at my dad and says, I'm actually selling this land. Right there, my dad said, let's go to the bank. They went to the bank. He got a loan. He sold one of his houses and he started building Simoson. And in those days, land was cheap. Land was relatively cheap. The economy was better than what it is today, obviously. This was the 1980s. I remember in 1989, $10,000 was 50,000 kwacha. do any of you remember that? You probably don't. Well, because some of you weren't around, weren't you? Somebody says, and the spoon was printed to GRZ. Well, it didn't know. The spoon did not say GRZ on there, but it did belong to the government, So he gets a loan. It took my dad about 15 years to pay off that loan because, things were different in those days. So he built this building with that background. Today, when politicians enter politics or people enter politics without financial security, without a track record of financial success, later on, it breeds problems. Now, it's very easy for you to sit there and say, well, Dr. Kaunda was poor. Yeah, well, that was a different time, wasn't it? That was a different dispensation. That's like saying, why are you using smartphones when you could use a rotary phone? Remember rotary phones? The phones that had the ring and the numbers? Well, we used rotary phones in those days. That was a different time. There's no need to use rotary phones now. Why? Because we have smartphones now. In the same vein, by the same token, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda's financial inability in those days, that was a different time. The country's priorities were different. The country was different. The population we didn't have as many people. Information moved a lot slower in those days. So there's a whole gamut of things that happened in those days that don't happen today simply because that was a different time. So don't use as an excuse, Kaunda was poor. So even today you can be poor. No, that was a different time. So in this dispensation, in this present dispensation, in this time block that we're in now, it's very difficult for a person who comes from a place of financial insecurity, for them to become a president without incident. It's like a child that has never tasted chocolate, and then all of a sudden you open a big store and say, do what you want. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to eat so much chocolate, he's going to get sick. He's going to throw up. I mean, here it is. We just recently heard that the former and late president's son, Dalitso, forfeited 70 cars and 21 properties. You let a kid who's never had candy before, never had chocolate before, and then you open a big, gigantic store and say, do what you want. He's going to gorge himself. Literally gorge himself. He's going to eat until he gets sick. He's going to throw up. He's going to eat so much that he won't know what to do with half of it. 70 cars, 21 properties. I mean, for what? For who? For what? For why? You know why? Because you've come from a background of financial insecurity, and then all of a sudden, you're let loose in a big, gigantic candy store. You run amok. You run into problems. I mean, this is there. This is a problem. And it's a tight rope to walk. It really is. Now, even though we no longer have the leadership code now, the system flushes you out when the umbrella of protection is no longer hovering over you. That is a problem. So every presidential candidate needs to keep that in mind, is that if you come from a background of financial insecurity and you use government coffers for your own personal gain to the point where you become so gorged that you overfeed yourself, and you cannot justify, you cannot identify a paper trail that indicates how and when you acquired all this wealth, you're going to run into problems. One day, sooner or later, it's going to hit you right square between the eyes. So in my view, it's not wise, it's not prudent. Nay, it's not kosher to elect people with a background of financial insecurity. I mean, that's my view. You may have a different view from mine, and that's your privilege. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a view nonetheless. Sorry, I break into KK every so often. So, all right. So that's the leadership code for you. I called that segment Dalitso's Billions because 21 properties and 70 vehicles, luxury vehicles, you're running into the billions. You really are. So it's a doozy. It really is. Right. Okay, a few comments on that before I proceed. Yeah, with the gas station. Vivian says, wow, and they expect us to believe he owned those properties in a right way. Insane. Okay, here's a view. He says, this one says, I think it's not about being poor. I think it's about morals and ethics. The leader should have a track record of those attributes. More of it in HH, some of it in people like Winter Kabimba. Interesting. Okay. All right. I just wanted to highlight something Vachitalu Chilufya said. Vachitalu Chilufya is the former Minister of Health. I just found it so interesting. And to me, I found, now, before I say anything about him, let's be clear. When Vachitalu Chilufya was the Minister of Health there, he did sort of set up some great initiatives within the health sector. Any health practitioner will tell you that. Vachitalu Chilufya left a very good legacy there at Ministry of Health. Let's be clear about that. But there's something he said recently that just, I found it comical and it made me cackle. He said, no, he's telling PF people, he says, no, don't jump ship. Don't abandon the PF because the party is still intact. Chitalu Chilufya knows good and hell well the party is not intact, number one. Number two, this comes from a person who not too long ago, when we were in Mazabuga in 2025, I was part of the media team that accompanied the president to Mazabuga. But Chitalu Chilufya was with us. He was in our company. So for Chitaluchi to say, no, don't jump ship. The PF is still intact. But we were together in Imazabuga. It doesn't make any sense to me. Do you feel me? Are you with me? And that's not a secret. I mean, he was with us in the open. That's not a secret. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. Someone says I agree with you there. They have no shame in stealing, whilst the average Zambians are suffering. Right. All right, let's see if we can get some phone calls. Goodness gracious. All right. Here it is. Give me a call on this number if you can. See if I can hear what you have to say. I hope it works. Somebody please tell me it's going to work. Ain't nothing worse than a phone call that can't get through. Dear, oh dear. All right, so, and please, can we keep it to the topics that I've highlighted today? Can we do that? In other words, when you call me, please, let's not talk about astrophysicists. Can we not do that? Yeah? Can we just stick to the things that we've talked about? All right, and only on WhatsApp, guys, please. Don't call me directly. Just call me on WhatsApp. Or as we say in Zambia, on WhatsApp. Call me on WhatsApp. It's not WhatsApp, it's WhatsApp. Okay? Here it is. Who's that? Right. What's the definition of poor? That's a good question. Someone that doesn't have financial security. That would be my answer. Somebody that doesn't have financial security. Poor. Are you guys calling me or what? Are you calling me or no? Tell me. Because if you're not, I'm going to leave. Honestly, I am. Right. A few more comments here. Oh, somebody says it's going to work. Well, I hope so. All right. That's my number, guys. That's my number there. Call me if you can and see if we can talk about this. I'll take one call because I have a meeting. I have somebody I need to meet. Maybe it's not set up. I mean, I've got it connected here, and it's connected to my Rodecaster Pro 2. Unless I've messed up the connection somehow. I don't know. Or as my mother would say, I don't know. The number is hidden. Is it really? Now, if you do I still have to work it out. I don't know how to do it. Is it really? When you say hidden, what do you mean? What? It doesn't show here. Well, let me show it to you now. Where is it, for goodness sake? There it is. It's on a timer. It's on a 60-second timer. And see if we can, There we go. There we go. There we go. There it is. A few comments. All right. Here we go. Yes, a poor person can legally run for president, as most democratic constitutions. Financial resources. Travel. That is true. Right. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Maybe I haven't connected my phone properly. We'll get it. We'll get it. God bless. Bye.